You're listening to the Belmar Bytes podcast, brought to you by Belmar Consulting. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Belmar Bytes podcast. I am excited for my conversation today with Summer Wedlock. Summer, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Fantastic. Well, Summer, we've over the last few months had a chance to get to know each other. Our organization has done some work for yours, and we had the privilege of hosting you recently at an event in Toronto, and we had a really nice evening, just getting a chance to connect and get to know a little bit about each other and a little bit about your organization. But really, the objective of these conversations is to share your story, not only with our team, but with the audience that listens to these, and specifically the nonprofit community that exists in Canada and the U.S. And so I thought we could just kick it off with just getting a little bit of an introduction from you. And so why don't you introduce yourself, introduce the organization, and we'll go from there.
Perfect. Well, thank you again for having me. It's such a pleasure. So I'm Summer Wedlock. I'm the CEO of the Canadian Children's Literacy Foundation. I took on the role in October of 2024, so just hit my 1-year anniversary. The Canadian Children's Literacy Foundation was founded in 2017 by Heather Reisman and Heather Monroe Bloom. And essentially, we're the only national charity that's dedicated exclusively to promoting early children's literacy from birth onwards. And our mission is simple. It's to ensure that all children in Canada develop the literacy skills they need to thrive. That's both in school and in life. And we really believe that literacy is not only a cornerstone of education, but it's a critical social determinant of health with lifelong impact on well-being, employment, and the economy. So since our founding in 2017, CCLF for short, has really become a trusted national leader in early literacy, and it's been such a pleasure to be a part of the organization for the last year.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on the last year, and congratulations
Yes.
on the work that the organization is doing. As I shared in my introduction, we've had the privilege of working with your organization and just seeing the impact, and it's pretty cool to just see what you're doing across Canada. Uh, we have a lot of nonprofit leaders that listen to these conversations, and one of the questions that I love to ask is, give us just a kind of a day in the life of what's going on, and that could be what's going on right now for yourself in the organization, and just give us, I guess, behind the scenes insight into what does a typical day look like for you.
I think one of the things I love most about my role is that there is no typical day and every day is different, which keeps it exciting. So it's such a mixture. I think, of course, like any CEO, there's a lot of meetings, both internally with the team. We have a team spread out across the country, which is fantastic. So ensuring that I'm informed on all of our projects and the great work that they're doing, but then also meeting with different stakeholders. So we also work with other literacy facing organizations, other organizations who are involved with children and youth. Last week, for example, I was in Ottawa meeting with members of parliament, from senators to ministers to MPs, sharing the impact that CCLF is having on children. And then just yesterday, I was shooting an awareness video where we're starting to talk about early literacy. And that's what I love about the role. Every day it's completely different, but it keeps it quite exciting and fresh.
Yeah, well, by the sounds of it, and certainly you're wearing many hats. You're doing, yeah, you just, almost sounds like there's just this outbound communication and messaging that you're doing to various stakeholders in the community, which we certainly see across so many of our client organizations that we work with, and again, one of the reasons we love doing having these conversations, doing interviews like this, is to share the story. And a few things that you've highlighted that I'd love to just double click on. You referenced your journey has been about a year, and you had a predecessor, before that. Uh, I guess when you look back on this last year and even before, as you were thinking and preparing to come into the organization, like what was it about this organization that sparked your interest? And let's start with that, and then we can pick up in terms of kind of where you're going next. But what was that initial spark that really pulled you in the direction of CCLF?
I think first and foremost, it's our cause. It's one that's close to my heart. I still have so many memories of being read to as a child, and I'm an avid reader. And now the tables have turned, and I have a 6-year-old and a 5-year-old who are reading to me at night, and I've been reading with them since they were born. So that importance of incorporating early literacy from birth onwards is so important. So that was the first thing that caught my eye. And then I think the other thing that I'm really impressed with the Canadian Children's Literacy Foundation is everything we do is evidence based. So whether that's the research, the programs that we're doing, we're ensuring that it's high quality work that we're doing and has evaluation, has metrics, and in the end, it has impact on the people that need it most. And then also, I was so excited about the opportunity to work with our board of directors. So, in addition to our co founders, we have such a breadth of expertise. We have everyone from Chris Hadfield, we have Peter Mansbridge, we have Daniela O'Neill, we have Marianne Wolf, Alika. We have so many different areas of expertise from healthcare to education to marketing, communications. So, I really, really enjoyed getting to know our board of directors and engaging them on kind of where the foundation is going over the next 5 years.
Really cool story in terms of just the organization and I'd love to just unpack a little more in terms of the mission. And so, you referenced reading to your kids. I remember when my kids were younger, uh, it was often it was often me that was doing it. My wife had interacted, maybe earlier in the day with the kids, and I would, they'd be going to bed, and we're, tucking them in, and they'd want to read to us, and it was always, a really really cool time in the life of my family. Um, but your organization exists because there's a need in the community, and so
Mhm.
help me understand a little bit about that need, what's happening across Canada and, in terms of
Mhm.
literacy and I guess for the audience, just unpacking a little more as to sort of what is going on in Canada as it pertains to the community that you're serving.
Yeah, so and I'm learning more and more in this role. I don't think I realized how great the need was until I joined. So right now, approximately 25% of Canadian children are not reading at grade level by the time they enter grade one. And if they're from, marginalized communities, um, there's different barriers that they might have been facing. That can be upwards of 40% in some communities. And then you look at kind of across Canada as well. So there's about 1 million children under the age of 15 who are below grade level in terms of their literacy skills. So that's about 1 in 8 kids in Canada. And I think after the pandemic, it really did set us back. So the need is there. And the other stat that always absolutely blows my mind is that there's about 25% of kids in Canada who don't have a single book in their home. So if you're not seeing books, how would you ever think to pick up a book and read and then become this beautiful voracious reader and really set you up for later in life? So I think the great thing about CCLF is doing is we're trying to actually go into these systems where families and caregivers are. So, for example, our flagship program that was started by my team before I joined is our early worth program, and this specifically um, actually trains healthcare providers on how to incorporate early literacy into those checkup appointments. So, because we're really focused on kids who are between the ages of 0 to 5, we know that they're seeing their pediatrician, their GP, or their public health nurse at regular intervals during that time. So we have now trained thousands of healthcare professionals across the country. We have about 122 clinics in total who are engaging in our program. So during these visits, the parents, the caregivers will learn about how to incorporate early literacy at the different milestones for those children, and they'll actually receive a book. We know that books are expensive and can be a barrier. So they physically receive a book, and in some cases, for some of these families, this is the first book that they're ever receiving for on their own. So they become quite excited to go back to the doctor and learn more about literacy and reading and receive that book. So that's the flagship program that was developed back in 2022. So we've seen some really great progress there, and we know that, you mean, families, if you're getting advice from a healthcare professional, they're about 2.5 times more likely to take that advice and try to build that daily habit of reading with their children. So that's kind of the flagship one that we're really, really proud of.
Yeah, that's cool. I know that our team worked with your team on a project specifically around
Yes.
that program, and so as you describe that, I'm having memories of some of those conversations that I was part of, and uh, so in terms of the reach, you're working right across Canada today.
Yes, we are. We're coast to coast to coast. And it started maybe with one pilot clinic, and now it's grown to 122, which is fantastic. So we started with the healthcare professionals, but an area that we're moving into now is educators as well. So going back to that 0 to 5 age range, we're specifically now looking at piloting training early childhood educators. So those within daycare systems, home daycares, public, private. So we are working with an incredible advisory board of leaders, again, from across the country who have helped us build this training. It's been accredited by the Canadian Child Care Federation, and now we're just starting to roll that out here in Ontario. Our head office is based in Toronto, but ideally with the goal eventually to spread it across the country.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. So coast to coast, more than 100 clinics, massive impact that you're having. And so that's the picture today. Uh, I'd love to get some insight into the strategy as you look out over the next few years. So you've shared you have another I guess program that you're working on right now, working on launching. But what's next? What's the vision for the organization?
So I think we're really focused on ensuring that we're reaching all of the audiences that would have some type of interaction with children from birth onwards. So we've got the healthcare providers, we're working on the educators, but obviously one of the most important teacher in a child's life is their parents, their caregiver, their grandparent, who are involved more in that day to day. So one of the things we're working towards is more of a public awareness campaign. So spreading the word about the importance of singing, reading, speaking to your child on a daily basis and the impact that that can have. I mean, if you're reading a book every day, you mean children are going to have thousands and thousands of words in their vocabulary by the time they actually enter kindergarten or grade one and go into the school system. So the more that we can expose them to language and vocabulary, the more we can help set them up for success later on. So I think for us, the awareness campaign is a really strong direction that we're going on, continuing to do the training, existing within the systems that already exist, so the education system and then our healthcare system. And then the other area, like I said, everything we're doing is very evidence based. So CCLF has published various research reports. You can find all of them on our website. But we're also looking at, you mean, different research that we can do, so whether it's looking at trending opportunities within the early literacy space, look at different partners that we can engage with so that we can have specifically Canadian data that we can reference back to.
Yeah, yeah. On the data front, that's one that's interesting to me. I mean, Canada as a country, I grew up in Canada, and it's the country um, has evolved and changed over the I guess over my lifetime, and you don't have to walk too far down the street to hear so many different languages now. Right across Canada. So I guess when you're working to solve this problem, and the medium that you're using to solve this problem is printed material, a book. Uh, there's so many languages in Canada. So how, like, talk a little bit about how you're addressing that, because I would imagine that that just creates more complexity in terms of the clients that you can serve, and how you think about, I guess, preparing to and plan for the inventory that you have to develop and then distribute. So, the language side of things, how's that impacting the organization?
For sure, it does become quite complex. And we're really specific about trying to curate the book selection and really have it reflect the communities that we're working in. So we'll have them in English, we'll have them in French. For example, in Nunavut, we specifically work with Indigenous publishers to ensure that we're giving books that are reflective of their communities. And in terms of the other kind of printed resources that we have on our website, they are available in multiple languages, which is great. We continue to expand the translations that we're offering because we recognize, I mean, how multicultural Canada is, and we really need to expand those offerings.
Yeah, that's awesome. In terms of the healthcare providers that you're working with, these clinics that you described, like, can you just unpack a little more in terms of sort of how you're getting into these clinics, and I guess then what the opportunity is. So if I was to say, there's an infinite amount of time and an infinite amount of money to be able to, roll your mission out across Canada, sort of what would that ideal look like in terms of, how many clinics do you find yourself in? How many organizations do you find yourself in? If you were to fast forward 5 years from now.
That's a great question. I think if money was infinite, then that would be a great problem to have. And I think for us, we do have a wait list, but it's the capacity in terms of how quickly we can train the different clinics and actually have our resources available. And that's one of the great things that Belmar did help us with on our back end, just the efficiencies in terms of how our team can work with those clinics, and even just the logistics of delivering those books and materials that we need to get to them. Um, but of course, there's thousands and thousands of clinics across the country. But where we've been specifically targeting is those communities that need it the most. So I think for us, continuing to look where the greatest need is. And then two, within the education system, you look at how many daycare there's. I mean, hundreds of daycare providers, and then you add that into that the home daycare providers, the Montessori schools. There's quite a range of organizations that we can partner with. And then also we're looking at one of the things that I've learned so much about is the vast amount of literacy organizations in Canada. We are very niche in terms of our specific to early literacy, but you look at there's so many different groups who go the whole spectrum. Some are very targeted at adult literacy, but where we're able to work together is we show that spectrum of life. So if you're really starting from birth onwards, we can help adults down the road in terms of increasing their literacy rates. And I think for us too, looking for those different community partners and community ambassadors that can help us share the word. And maybe it's not the ones that someone might think of. Of course, we want to engage with libraries and community centers and things like that. But perhaps it's looking at other community ambassadors who can share their story just like you are. Tell us about, you mean, the joys of reading with your kid at night, or on the walk to school, you're reading the street signs or whatever it may be, and how you can incorporate literacy into your day-to-day activities.
Yeah, that's great. And when I referenced infinite money and infinite time, wouldn't that be ideal for
Yes,
everybody that's listening to
every
this?
foundation.
Absolutely. I think we could all use more money and more time to go and accomplish the things that we have set out in our missions. I guess, bringing this back to the mission. I'd love to get your kind of a story, if you've got something that jumps to mind in terms of a success, an impact that you've had. Uh, a child that's got got a book, and you've heard the feedback. Like, what's something that just jumps to mind in terms of a big win that you've had in the last year as an organization?
Yeah, and I think we love hearing the stories, especially when we get feedback in the surveys from our clinics. We'll do site visits with them, or even some of the feedback we get when we get donations, just asking why they specifically have donated to us. Some of the ones that resonate me is just the families in particular that this is the first book that they've received. And for some, learning too that just the daily habit, but also that if you are engaging with, let's say, a 6 and 9 month old, I mean, by no means are they going to be actually flipping the pages for you. They might be chewing on that book, they're slobbering with the book, they're throwing it around, but they're starting to engage with the book, which is so important. We're not expecting them maybe to sit through the entire book. So I think it's that education piece with families as well, to know that, you mean, what you're doing is great and it's completely on track with where they're at with their developmental milestones. But to continue to have the process of reading with them every day, and eventually they'll move on from a board book to you mean different types of books, and really start engaging with it and trying to, you mean, sound out the letters and learn how to read on their own. So I love hearing the stories about the families who it is their first book, and maybe for them reading wasn't something that they grew up with. So they're learning about it at the same time and creating this new beautiful routine with their family.
Yeah, that's awesome. Uh, I'd asked you earlier about vision, and I'm going to ask a little different.
Mhm.
I'll ask that question a little differently this time, and it's the future and sort of where you see the organization in, say, 5 years from now. And so when you look ahead, uh, Canada, the population is changing. The needs of in the community are changing. You referenced even as an example, COVID, sort of how things really changed through the pandemic. And so as you look into the future, what are some of those big goals that you've set for the organization? And I'd love for you to share that with us.
I think a big part is around the awareness piece. So just creating, it's not specifically about CCLF, it's just about the importance of early literacy from birth onwards and creating those habits of reading and singing and speaking to your children. Um, Particularly target at kind of parents and caregivers across Canada to understand, even if the simple, even 10 plus minutes a day, if you could incorporate that into your day, the lifelong impact that you could have on your children. And we're looking at it more from the prevention side of things. So if we're hopefully helping the next generation, for us, I'd love to see those numbers and those statistics that I'm quoting in terms of the 25 to upwards of 40% of kids entering grade one below the reading level. We want to see those. We want to see those decreasing. And I think for us too, to have families engaging with all of everything we offer is free in terms of our resources that are on our website. So parents who are looking for, you mean, ways to engage with their children, for educators who are looking to add more kind of professional development to their repertoire around literacy, being able to use us as a resource, and also reference, you mean, the great research that we're creating. And I'm excited about some of the research that we're thinking about creating in the future, because I do think that the data, it really matters, and I think it'll help us prove that impact that we're making as a country. The one reference that I always, I think, put things in perspective, it's from a report that we did with Deloitte in 2020. A 1% increase in adult literacy could equate to $67 billion in our GDP. So that's about
Wow.
$1,800 per Canadian. That's just for a 1% increase in adult literacy. So if we as CCLF can have an impact on, you mean, the next generation, in terms of making those improvements, then I think we'll have been successful.
Yeah. Well, it's really interesting, as you described that. The thought that came to mind was you have a there's a short-term strategy, and that is to impact in a really positive way the lives of children from birth up to, I think you said, 5 years old. And but just even that thought of like a 1% increase in literacy as adults, what impact that has on our GDP, which is a longer term strategy.
Mhm.
You're influencing today the younger generation who grows up to be, the older generation,
Exactly.
and so you almost get a win today, but you get a win in the future,
Yes.
which is so amazing.
The
And
win-win.
yeah, no, very much so. I think that's a really really inspirational idea. Is that this is not just a you're solving an immediate problem that goes away. This is an immediate problem that then has lifelong benefit, which I'm sure
Completely.
there's just all kinds of research that you have in terms of just what impact that has on an individual as they move through school and as they get into their, teen and
Mhm.
adult life. Just the ability to read and to communicate is critical. I just, a very small sample size. I look at many of the people that are on our team, most of them younger than me, and having to, they're navigating in many cases very complex conversations with business leaders, with stakeholders within our customers, and
Mhm.
uh, they're having to translate business requirements into a technical requirement that can then be built in a piece of software
Mhm.
to deliver a particular outcome for that customer. And just the how articulate so many of these folks are, and just their ability to think about problems in ways that sometimes I think of it, it's like, wow, I would have never thought about solving a problem that way. And so it's just so interesting to think about just that lifelong uh, framework of learning and growing, which is foundational, with reading. And so this has been a really inspiring conversation, and I love the work that CCLF is doing, and it's so cool to have conversations with customers that we've had the privilege of working with, and have an opportunity just to dig in a little deeper in terms of what their mission is. So, thank you for doing this, Summer. It's been amazing. Um, I guess the way that I love to wrap these conversations up is to give people an opportunity to reach out, to have a more in depth conversation with you. If somebody wanted to learn more, first of all, about CCLF, how would they go about finding out information about you guys?
Yes, we would love to engage with any of your listeners. They can visit our website at childrensliteracy.ca, and then we are across all the socials. It's at Can Literacy. So be happy to engage and have you take a look at all the fantastic free resources that we have on our site. And we're always looking for new and innovative ways to partner and help us share our vision and our mission.
Okay, so that's how they reach out to the organization if they wanna connect with you. What's the best way?
On LinkedIn is perfect. So Summer Wedlock, and there's not many of us, so I'll be easy to find.
Alright, so Summer Wedlock on LinkedIn. I'm sure you can, if you're listening to this and you wanna, uh, find out more about Summer, you can go to the, CCLF website, and I'm sure you've got, some info that'll direct them, to the right, way to reach you. But, Summer, thanks for doing this. This has been a great conversation, and, thanks for what you do for CCLF and uh, for children across the country. It's really, impactful what you're doing, and, I'm grateful, and, also grateful for the opportunity we've had to work together and really have these conversations. So thanks for doing this, and thanks everybody for tuning in. And if you want to learn more, you can visit our website at belmarcloud.com, and we have these episodes published. And if you are having any troubles reaching out or finding Summer or the team at CCLF, you know how to reach us, and we'll get you pointed in the right direction. So, Summer, thanks for doing this.
Thank you for having me. Such a pleasure, Scott.
Alrighty, thanks everybody for listening. This has been another episode of Belmar Bytes, brought to you by Belmar Consulting. You can follow us on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or on our website at belmarcloud.com.